Grandma, can you listen for a second? I heard this weird noise coming from the storage room.
When my granddaughter, Karen, told me this, I headed towards the room that was supposed to be the workshop. Suddenly, I heard voices there. It was my husband, Tom, and our eldest son's wife, Rachel.
Thank you, Tom. Ethan is so stingy as he never buys me even a single piece of jewelry.
If you like, I'd give you as much as you want, but in return.
Anger started bubbling inside me. And 30 minutes later, our eldest son, Ethan, saw the situation and said to me,
"Mom, can you let me handle this matter? I let her off the hook before, but now we've got just the evidence we needed."
Ethan said that and smirked. My name is Sarah Brown. I'm a 65-year-old housewife. I've been doing crafts for a long time, combining hobby with practicality, and now I also work as a craft artist. My husband, named Tom, is 68 years old. He retired from his company, and since then, he has been working at a job at a business owned by his acquaintance. We have 2 sons, both independent with families of their own, and we interact while living our daily lives. However, we face several issues. The worst is that Tom does not understand my hobby, livelihood, and crafts. Since I was young, I have loved embroidery and knitting. My interest in crafts grew from there. But it became a job like it is now when the boys were still in elementary school. At one point, Tom became so ill he had to take time off work, and our income significantly dropped. So, while taking care of him, I looked for a job to supplement our household income, and home-based work was the best fit for me. I have always enjoyed meticulous tasks and can't stop focusing on the job once I start, so I quickly improved. I received more and more different tasks from my clients and was eventually encouraged to attend a jewelry course. By the time Tom returned to work, I was even helping out as an assistant in some classes. Tom still thinks it was just a part-time job back then. As time went on, I moved from being an assistant to a teacher, and eventually, I was given my own class to run. But gradually, the time I spent on the course extended beyond what Tom had initially considered as just a part-time work. This was a bit of a problem. Tom wants me to properly manage the household and does not approve of working more than part-time hours. At that time, Tom had safely returned to work, and our life stabilized, so I decided to become a craft artist working from home. It was also around this time that online marketing and sales systems began to improve. Initially, I used a blog and later a photo-centric social media to showcase my works. Eventually, I became quite well known in the craft circle. But Tom can't seem to grasp that. In his eyes, I am like someone who quit a part-time job and now just happily plays around at home. For example, there was this incident. We never had a large apartment. When our 2 sons were around, I didn't have my own room. After they went off to college, Tom claimed their rooms for his study, and I was left with just the kitchen for my crafts, as when I was doing home-based jobs. The kitchen table was just about the right size. But when Tom found out, his reaction was awful. He angrily threw the delicate jewelry parts I had spread out to dry on the table onto the floor. I hurriedly picked them up, but the parts were scattered, and I had to start over. That time, I explained the situation to the customer and managed to get an extension on the delivery date. But since then, I've become very sensitive to Tom's return times from work. All this while, I have been frustrated. Why do I have to sneak around to work? This resentment has always smoldered within me. Eventually, as our 2 sons married, there was nothing much left between us as a married couple, just the continuation of our separate daily lives. I continue my work while Tom is away, making sure not to leave any trace of it, and keep the house perfectly, pretending to be a full-time housewife. Tom has no interest in the household finances, so he doesn't know that I make a decent income. He's never even managed to file his own taxes properly on his own, and he has no interest in our household savings either. So, to him, I must have always looked like a stay-at-home housewife, like a parasite who just spends money on a hobby. Eventually, time passed, and Tom retired from the company he had been with for so long. He quickly found a job through an acquaintance that he could commute to daily. The salary was nowhere near what it was before his retirement. He still probably wanted to avoid seeing me every day. That's when Ethan suddenly came over with his wife, Rachel, and brought up something new. They planned to build a new house not too far from our apartment.
It's about time to consider your age. We're worried about you guys.
Yes, having Tom around would make us very happy.
Really?
Tom is sweet on Rachel. He always seems pleased when she says something. After agreeing, Ethan and I started discussing finances, just the 2 of us. Our sons knew I was more reliable than Tom when it came to handling significant amounts of money. Both Ethan and our younger son, Harry, had always wondered how they managed to attend private colleges without scholarships. After they started working and understood the value of money, they asked me one day how much savings we had, what their education had cost, and where the money had come from. So I told them, "Keep it a secret from your dad." I revealed what I had been doing. Most of their tuition fees came from me. Both of them were amazed. I'm grateful for that. Probably because of this, even after Tom and Harry got married, they frequently visited us, especially Ethan's daughter, Karen, who loves beautiful things and always looked at my creations with awe. But tell me something you like, and I can get it for you. When I say that, Karen responds,
Mom wouldn't like it.
She just shakes her head. Rachel was somewhat tricky for me. She's not bad on the outside. But from what Karen says, there's something untrustworthy about her.
My name could have been way more unusual than it is now.
Karen sighed. For a daughter in the upper grades of elementary school, the sense of this name was likely a shock.
Mom likes sparkly, detailed jewelry too. If I brought some home, she'd claim she looks better in it and take it from me.
It was hard to believe, but Karen continued.
And she's absolutely clumsy, so it's clear she'd break it. That's why I can't even buy sparkly things, even if these are for everyday use items.
What an ungraceful act for an adult towards a child who loves cute, sparkly things. It's hard to confront Rachel, as she usually shows a decent face to me and hardly slips up. But she's always too comfortable around Tom. I don't know her motives, but when she comes over, she flatters Tom and satisfies his vanity. It was during such times that Ethan brought up building a new home. And then Ethan said something that made me happy.
Mom, you've been through a lot because of me, so in the new house, I'm planning to prepare a room for your workshop. How about that?
Really? Are you sure?
Yeah, it's close by, so you can come over whenever you like.
I was genuinely happy to hear Ethan's words. It could be said that my passion, which I had pursued secretly, was finally recognized by my son. Of course, I was somewhat recognized socially, but not being acknowledged by my closest family, and this was tough emotionally. When the house was finished and Ethan's family was almost settled in, I tried to move my tools and materials to the workshop. But when I got there, I found the room already filled with stacks of cardboard boxes. What was going on? I decided to ask Rachel. Rachel, wasn't that room meant for me by Ethan? She looked at me as if it was trivial and said,
Well, Sarah, we still need a lot of things. It's not odd to have a storage room, right?
But this was specifically designed for me by Ethan from the planning stage. Didn't you know about that?
I knew, but he would never complain about what I say.
Leaving behind a baseless parting shot, Rachel also said,
We still have a lot of unpacking to do.
She added, and then left. I stood frozen at the entrance to what was supposed to be my workshop, and I was stunned. Boxes were piled up near the entrance as if they were blocking me out. Eventually, the cleanup was done, and a garden party to celebrate the new house began. The attendees were Ethan's family, who owned the house, us and Harry's family, and Ethan's friends. I wanted to talk to Ethan about the workshop, but I never found the right moment. Even at this party, Tom and Rachel ignored me and never broached the subject about my workshop. Rachel was supposed to prepare the garden party food. However, Tom said to me, "Why don't you help out?" So I ended up doing most of the cooking. I couldn't join the party and just kept cooking and serving.
Rachel has guests to entertain. You can only cook and better not get in the way.
That was only thing Tom said to me. All I did was silently cook and serve, over and over. In the midst of this, Karen came to the kitchen. Seeing her with such a complex expression, I asked, "What's wrong?"
Grandma, can you listen for a second?
I bent down to match Karen.
Well, there's a weird noise coming from the storage room.
A weird noise? From the storage?
The place Mom calls the storage.
I see. The room was supposed to be my workshop. But everyone is outside for the party today. What could it be? It's kind of scary. My granddaughter has a sensitive side and often fears the dark and deserted places. Okay, let's quietly go check it out together. Karen nodded in agreement. And so we headed to the room that was supposed to be my workshop. Sure enough, we heard a clattering sound. I slowly opened the door. Hidden behind a mountain of boxes, I couldn't see what was inside. Then suddenly, a voice was heard.
Yeah, it's kind of like a hideout now, isn't it?
Tom's voice.
Right? Don't you think I'm smart, Tom?
Yeah, you are much smarter than me.
His voice was so doting. Something I hadn't heard in a long time.
So, Tom, what about that thing I asked for before?
Yes, this one.
There was a sound of something being fetched.
Thank you, Tom. I've always wanted something like this. Ethan is such a miser, never buys me even a single piece of jewelry.
If you like, I give you as much as you want. But in return,
I couldn't let the child hear what was next. I quickly took Karen outside.
Hey, Grandma. That was Mom and Grandpa there just now, right?
She had heard that. I instinctively touched my forehead.
Grandma, don't worry about it. Grandpa has sometimes given Mom gifts just for her.
Wait, what about you, Karen? Karen just shook her head.
Grandma, Grandpa usually comes over when I'm not around. Only when Mom is here. That's why Grandpa was so happy about this house being built.
I sighed and hugged Karen. How can they make Karen realize this complicated situation? Then an idea came to me. Hey, where is Dad now?
At the party. Outside, right?
Could you go get him? Tell him to come here quietly? Karen seemed to understand and quickly went to call Ethan. After all, he was the guest of honor today. It might not be easy for him to slip away. About 30 minutes later, Ethan came, peeking into the room from behind the cardboard boxes. The conversation and atmosphere inside clearly suggested flirtation. But it seemed like Tom was the more forward one, while Rachel appeared somewhat passive. After listening for a while, Ethan nodded as if he understood the situation, and then gestured for me to come outside.
Mom, can you let me handle this for a while?
For a while? What do you mean?
Well, I've had my suspicions about Rachel for some time now.
Had he noticed something before?
I let her slide before because I didn't have any concrete evidence. But I'm sorry, but I will need to use the room you made for such things. I'll just use it for a bit.
Ethan said that and smirked. And then, one day, 3 months after that party,
Why would you know? I can't accept this.
just as Tom and I were about to open the door, we heard Rachel's shrill voice.
what's going on? I'll go check.
Yes, go ahead. As I said this, the corners of my lips might have lifted slightly. Did Tom notice? I checked the large envelope in my bag and followed slowly behind Tom, heading towards the living room where his voice echoed.
Hey, what's going on? I could hear it all the way over here.
Tom, listen. He just suddenly said he wants a divorce.
What? Ethan, what are you talking about all of a sudden?
Then Ethan scoffed.
It's not sudden at all. Rachel has been cheating for a long time.
No, that's a lie.
Rachel was clearly flustered.
Rachel was supposed to prepare the garden party food.
What? You've been doing this behind my back? You've doubted me all this time?
Yeah, I guess. There are various things about you. But why are you so surprised by this, Dad?
Ethan glanced at Tom.
Well, it's about your important wife after all.
Just because she's my wife, it doesn't mean you normally meet her alone in a closed room like this, right?
Startled, Tom let out a gasp. and looked at Ethan. His expressionless face strongly conveyed the serious Ethan's anger.
What do you mean by evidence? And now, why say this here? Karen is here too.
Rachel brought up Karen's name as if it were an afterthought.
I want Karen to hear this too. She's long known that your behavior was off.
What, Karen? You doubted me?
It's not about suspicion. It's obvious, Mom.
Karen, who would be a 6th grader this spring, said this and glared at her mother, Rachel, with all the purity of adolescence.
Mom, you've always been taking gifts from Grandpa when it's just you and him.
That was just because it happened to be there. Nothing more than that. How can you say I was begging? It's terrible to hear. What's wrong with being happy to receive something?
That's news to me. I joined in the conversation.
Hey, Sarah, I didn't call you over.
You may not have called me, but I have something to say to you. I pulled out a green paper from the envelope. I thrust this signed divorce form at Tom.
What's this now? What kind of joke is this?
This is no joke. This represents all the feelings I've accumulated towards you. My voice was unusually calm. Perhaps Tom got mad and shouted at me.
I won't allow this.
You don't have to allow it. I've already consulted a lawyer with Ethan, and I'm well aware of how you've been making eyes at Rachel. You used that room as a hideout, didn't you? I signaled to Ethan. Ethan quickly took out his phone and made a call. Then soon, the doorbell rang.
Is it okay to come in now?
It was Harry's voice. Karen swiftly slipped away to open the door.
Chloe, come in.
Great timing, Karen. We're coming in.
It was the voice of Harry's wife, Melissa. And one more person. There was a man in a suit. This was the lawyer Ethan and I had hired.
What? Why are you all here too?
Tom was visibly shocked.
Well, about this house.
Harry, let me explain. Actually, I've been thinking of transferring half of this house to Harry and Melissa.
What?
Rachel's voice flipped.
Right. When my brother told me, I was surprised. But if you and Rachel are getting a divorce, it makes sense.
We have not decided yet.
That's only what you think.
Ethan firmly addressed Rachel. That's right, Rachel. We have various pieces of evidence of your affair.
Various evidence.
Tom was quick to react.
Well, seeing is believing at times like this.
The lawyer opened his laptop and showed the screen to everyone. A list of video files was displayed.
Let's start with the most recent one.
The video began to play. It was a familiar spot. Yes, it was my workshop that had been turned into a storage room. The place Tom had called a hideout. But in the video, a man I had never seen before was moving around freely.
Rachel, what is this?
I don't know, I didn't. This is a trap to frame me.
Well, it was indeed a trap. Rachel, you had no idea there were cameras in that room.
Cameras.
Yes, these are the cameras in the room where you called a hideout. You piled up items at the entrance so that anyone entering wouldn't be immediately seen. Then you placed a couch in the empty space inside and used a door that directly leads outside to let someone in. So who exactly is this person?
When the lawyer asked, Rachel vigorously shook her head. denying any knowledge.
Well, that's enough. But we've already done our research.
What are you talking about?
Look at this person.
The lawyer switched the video.
And this person, they're all different, right?
The lawyer switched the videos, one after another, recorded by a camera mounted on the fence. As the lawyer mentioned, this north-facing room had a door that opened directly outside. Originally designed as an entrance for materials, it appears Rachel had been using it to let men in and out.
So?
Ethan prompted for more.
Every time the person is different because she met them online.
What? In front of the children.
Mom, that's disgraceful. Don't use me as an excuse.
At that moment, Karen interrupted Rachel's words and exclaimed,
This was supposed to be Grandma's workshop, right? Why were you using it for this?
A workshop? You mean you were still dabbling in that nonsense?
Tom was seemingly irritated that he was unaware of the room's use and suddenly raised his voice at me.
It's rude to call it nonsense, Tom.
Melissa, Harry's wife, then stepped forward.
What? Melissa, what do you know?
I know very well because I've been a fan of Sarah since she was teaching me.
What? A teacher? A fan?
Tom looked at Melissa, puzzled. Yes, Melissa was one of my students when I was teaching handicrafts. She was always keen in class, bombarding me with questions after lessons. When I decided to quit teaching to focus on being a craft artist, she even cried, regretting that she couldn't take any more classes. That led to us occasionally inviting her over for tea, and she met Harry, who was home visiting, and they eventually got married.
How could you not know this, Tom? Did you not realize that Harry and Ethan got into good schools and secured decent jobs because Sarah was earning behind the scenes all this time?
Earning? That's absurd.
Hearing that, I quietly pulled out my bank passbook from the envelope. In these several volumes, there is a detailed record of the income during the period Tom was recuperating and when he believed I was just working part-time. Additionally, it includes various transactions for commission works and other detailed income and expense records. And the current balance was...
What? $400,000.
Yes, I want to live comfortably in my retirement. Tom muttered to himself, seemingly conceding that it was enough. But I have no intention of spending another dime on you. That's why I'm confronting you with this.
That's absurd. I won't accept this.
No, look at this. These are the details of the things you've given to Rachel. I then pulled out a crumpled bundle of receipts from the envelope. I thrust them at Tom. Bags, jewelry, and more. Have you ever bought me anything like this since we got married?
No, but it's better to get along with our son's wife. After all, she'll be taking care of us in the future.
No, I never intended to rely on either of my children in the first place. That's why I have saved this much money. You might have forgotten, but do you remember the items you angrily knocked off the kitchen table? You have no idea how much they were going to be worth. I vented all the frustrations I had accumulated over the years at Tom. The items you dropped were made of silver wire.
What? Silver? Really?
Tom looked at me incredulously. They were small, but there were gems in those parts. I was officially commissioned to assemble them, yet you.
It's because you never said.
I told you from the start it was my job, I asserted firmly.
But that was just a part-time job.
I became a teacher from a part-timer. You never noticed all the effort I put in during that time. At this, Tom was momentarily speechless.
Did you know about this?
Tom turned to his sons.
Yeah, we knew, right?
Yes. We knew Mom was working late into the night. We know it's why her eyesight deteriorated so fast.
We wanted to go to the schools we chose, and Mom packed her work schedule and still managed the house perfectly. Yet, Dad, you did nothing for her.
Hearing them say that, I felt a warm surge of gratitude.
I can't believe Tom would treat Sarah like that.
Melissa also spoke up.
And to think you were planning to turn the place meant to be her workshop into a hideout? I can't forgive that.
No, but come on, a north-facing room? Isn't it obvious it's best used as a storeroom?
North-facing rooms are chosen specifically for creating artwork because the light is the best.
Melissa countered forcefully. The back entrance was made to facilitate the easy transportation of materials, yet you wouldn't even listen when I tried to explain.
No way. I never imagined such things could be worth so much.
Tom, please look at this.
Melissa then showed everyone a certain SNS account on her smartphone.
This person,
Rachel gasped in surprise.
a famous influencer.
Yes, that's right. Rachel, you loved her, didn't you? This jewelry was made by Sarah. It's popular.
Rachel was speechless with surprise.
And I found this too.
Melissa showed everyone Rachel's account.
Who were you dining with here? Certainly not with Ethan.
No, I don't recall ever going out to eat like this with her. In fact, she hasn't invited me for a long time.
Rachel's, you usually invite us and bring Karen, and we all go out together more, especially recently, right?
Because dining out with you guys is just at a family restaurant at best.
Rachel looked around nervously.
So what, Mom? You didn't like going to family restaurants with us? Were you embarrassed?
It's not that, but what's wrong with wanting to dress up and eat a nice meal with a handsome man once in a while?
I couldn't help but say, that's just wrong, out of sheer frustration. Do you even realize what you're saying, Rachel? And I heard you were the one paying for those meals.
Did you know that much?
Ethan and Harry exchanged glances and nodded.
At that party, when you were oddly close to my dad, we still hadn't found the decisive evidence. But that was the start, and your mistakes just kept coming out. So we decided to investigate thoroughly.
Why would you do that?
Stop it. I was so sick of that side of you, Mom.
Suddenly, Karen shouted.
Mom, how could you think you wouldn't be caught?
What do you mean?
If Melissa could track down your account and see those photos, so my classmates' moms could easily figure out what you've been up to.
Hearing this, Rachel's face turned pale.
Plus, my classmates' moms love gossip and sleuthing. They already know what you've been up to. Do you understand how I felt when they told me?
Karen said this, and then burst into tears on the spot. It was apparently a moment of immense embarrassment. Melissa comfortably patted Karen on the back.
So, What exactly do you want from us now?
Tom asked in a choked voice.
Don't say it's Tom. You had your faults. I'm not to blame for just that.
How can you say that?
Fury shaking, Ethan was about to retort when the lawyer interjected soothingly.
First off, Rachel, your husband is asking for a divorce based on your infidelity. You're likely to lose. You'll also have to pay alimony. Then there's child support that you will have to pay for your daughter.
Wait a minute. Child support means?
I don't want to live with Mom if we get divorced.
Karen stated firmly.
I want to change schools if possible. Do you understand? It's all because of you, Mom. Even my friends look at me weird. And I've always resented you for trying to give me that bizarre name.
Hearing this, Rachel collapsed to her knees.
Did you hate that name so much? I thought it was cool.
Karen averted her gaze from her mother. Meanwhile, Tom started to panic.
I didn't cheat.
It doesn't matter if that was cheating or not, but you've always been emotionally abusive to me.
Emotionally abusive?
Tom looked at me, seemingly not understanding. You may not have seen it that way, but at this point, I don't care if it's irreconcilable differences or whatever else. I just want to be away from you, that's all. I want to do what I desire freely, without being troubled by you. I will stay in this house. You can continue living in the apartment on your own, right?
That's not possible.
That's possible.
The lawyer interjected.
After all, your wife contributed significantly to the funds to build this house. It was even planned to be built for 2 families. There's plenty of room, and she has every right to live here.
It's because you've been frivolously flirting with others' wife and neglecting my mom as well.
Hearing Ethan's words, Tom collapsed. Later, Ethan and I got a divorce, and Rachel ended up working desperately to pay alimony and child support, living in a cheap apartment and seeing Karen once a month. Tom finally learned to manage his finances and realized how careless he had been with money all these years. There was no consolation money from Tom due to the circumstances. And with no division of property, his bank account felt pitiful compared to what he saw in my account. He ended up moving to a cheaper apartment. Well, what goes around comes around.
Auntie and Grandma, good morning.
Breakfast is ready.
Yay, it looks delicious again today.
Since then, Ethan, Karen, and I moved into a new home where Harry and his wife also relocated. We make it a point to get together for meals as often as possible. Karen says meals are much more enjoyable now than ever before. I continue working in the workshop with Melissa. Having a capable assistant allows me to freely create my art, which is incredibly fulfilling. Karen has transferred to another elementary school within commuting distance from our home and is diligently studying for exams. Harry and Melissa might have children in the future, which will surely liven up our home even more. In this slightly unconventional family, I want to support them as much as I can.